Hi, just a quick video on how to finish off the back elastic in the D-pants. So I'm up to putting just the final elastic through the lining. So I've got all the legs and the front and the back, which is just tacked in and threaded through the casing, the top. So you want to measure out on your elastic and attach with a bodkin or a safety pin, whatever you want to use. Leave at least 2 centimetres before your first mark, and then you want 7 centimetres, which is going to be the stretch, and then leave at least another 2 centimetres at the other end, because you're going to actually stitch these bits into your top stitching to hold it all nice and tight. So next you want to start threading your elastic through. So I'm trying to hold it up. I've got it threading through the casing, and once you get to your first marking through, well, sorry, the second marking, so at the end of your 7 centimetres, stop just as you get into the casing there, and then pop a pin through to hold it in place if you want. And then you're going to stitch that close. So you're going to close off the casing and stitch down the elastic in place there. You can see it a little bit better. So that's my second marking there. And just do a line of stitching across here. So stitch that in. So my elastic is still attached to the bodkin, and I've stitched that closed. You see there, and I've still got my couple of centimetres here. So I'm going to just snip this off now, just to get rid of my roll of elastic, and then you're going to keep pulling the elastic through and out the other side. Main thing is make sure you don't twist your elastic inside your casing, otherwise you'll end up having to unpick, which I've done before. And you want to get your first marking there, and repeat the same thing. So you're going to stitch this one closed along there, and it's going to create a nice gather for the stretch at the back. I leave the bodkin attached so you can hold it to get it under the presser foot. It makes it a lot easier. So now is probably the trickiest part when you go to top stitch. So you can pin these little elastic tabs to where you want to sew them. It makes it a little bit easier, but you want to, this is my long back elastic, so you want to get that out of the way, and you want to have that sitting above your tab of elastic, and then you want to pin your short back elastic to the pull to hold it. Otherwise you can just do it by feel if you want to. But you're wanting to set them up like that, so you've got your long elastic sitting up higher, and then your short elastic sitting down lower, and you want to line it up with, sorry, try and get it to focus. You want to line it up with your stitching here from the casing, because you're going to start your top stitching in line with that, and you want to make sure that you are going to sew over this piece of elastic to hold it in place. So I'm going to pop a pin here, and then when you sew, just make sure that this long piece of elastic is definitely out of the way, and then you're going to pop that under your presser foot and start stitching along from here, starting from here. And then you're going to repeat and do the same thing, set it up on the other side. So I've just got this ready to set up to do my top stitching. So I've got the 2 pins in place holding the lining elastic. So I've got my long elastic sort of floating free where I can pull it through, and I've got the lining elastic, these little tabs, pinned so that they are going to be stitched over when you start your top stitching here and finishing on this side. So yeah, you want to start right up against, so it just continues this line of stitching, and then that way you get a good centimetre or so of stitching over that piece of elastic to hold it nice and sturdy. And then when you get back around to the other side, just make sure you're holding your long piece of elastic out of the way of your stitching when you are going along the back, and then finishing lining up with this line of stitching here, and just have a good feel to make sure that piece of elastic is going to be underneath your presser foot as you come along this section here. So I should say I actually don't top stitch the whole way around. I just do the back sections, and I don't top stitch along these cotton lycra tabs. I just find it too fiddly, and don't really need to. I quite like the edges without being stitched. So I've just done the first one. So I just stitch from this edge all the way along, and then that elastic's moving freely in the back there. And if I turn it inside, you can see I've stitched that elastic down there a good, well, probably 1.5 centimetres, and that just holds it in place. And it also helps it sit a little bit lower than your outer, so it stops it when your child's pulling the pull-up up, that the lining's not popping out the top. So I'm just going to go and finish off this side and do the rest of the top stitching. So I finished top stitching along the back. So as you can see there, the lining pocket sits just a little bit lower than the outer, and that's just so that when they're pulled up, they don't, the lining doesn't come out the top of the back of the pull up. You will see a little bit of stretching here where you've stitched, but once it's on and they're actually being stretched around a body, the elastic does most of the stretching, so that hasn't been an issue for us. But you're going to get a nice flat pocket like that, and then these are nice and secure in the corners, and that elastic's not going to come out if you've given it a good centimetre or so of stitching down. And hopefully that makes it a little bit easier.